What is your sense of Russia's designs on Kazakhstan? I know that there is worry in the Central Asian republics that if there is some kind of a peace deal or some kind of conclusion to the war between Kiev and Moscow, that Putin will then turn his attentions to Central Asia. How likely do you rate that prospect?
Kazakhstan, like I said, has the longest border with Russia of any country, and so they're rightly a little bit worried, especially when you have Kremlin commentators and Putin himself say Kazakhstan isn't a real country, and actually there's lots of Russian speakers just over the border in Kazakhstan. Maybe they'll need some protection at some point. So they are rightly worried about their security, but what I think Kazakhstan and other countries in Central Asia to a lesser extent have done that's really smart is to try to reduce their reliance on Moscow, especially in the economic sphere, and a little bit in the security sphere. Now, for the United States, unfortunately, the other player there is China. China has lots of interest in Kazakhstan and in the other Central Asian countries. So if the US wants to not only compete with Russia and China, but also to pursue its own interests and to ensure a modicum of stability in the region, it would behoove Washington and many of its partners in Europe as well to continue investing in the region.
Is there significant European investment?
So there was recently, I believe this was in May or in late April, a European Union Central Asia summit in Samarkand in Uzbekistan. And the EU committed another, I believe, 5 billion euros in addition to an 11 billion that they'd committed previously to developing the Middle Corridor and other infrastructure projects in the region. So the money in kind of broad terms is there, the interest is there, but again, the devil is in the details, and most of that money is through promised through loans, actually. And of course, the Central Asian countries would prefer guarantees or investment, which is the sort of thing that the Chinese are providing. So there's interest, but I think some of the financing details are where things get a little bit stuck.
Now, you talked a lot in your piece about port capacity, and you seem to indicate that Kazakhstan has significantly improved its ability, expanded its ports. Is that right?
Absolutely. This has been a major element of Kazakhstan's efforts to build out the infrastructure needed to carry the requisite volumes through the Middle Corridor that will make it a viable trade corridor, really. So they've done lots of investment in the port of Aktau, lots of dredging to get the bigger ships that you need to transport, at scale, essentially, things like uranium, even things like gas and oil and other containerized goods. So this is one element of their strategy. But as I write in the piece, this is still too expensive to do, especially for companies to do at scale. And so Kazakhstan not only needs to increase its capacity and ability to process these volumes, but the prices need to come down as well to make them globally competitive.
How is Turkey enmeshed in all of this, since it's very active in this region? Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, Turkey for a long time has been one of the leading investors in Central Asia and especially in Kazakhstan as well. And Turkish companies have, construction companies especially, are some of the firms that are actually building this physical infrastructure. So in Kazakhstan and in the region, they have an absolutely crucial role to play because they have been the ones that have the risk appetite to enter some of these countries and really commit many millions of dollars.
And Turkey has not been shy about challenging Russia either, has it?
Absolutely not. Turkey sees itself as a major player in the Black Sea, which of course has been a place where Russia has been active, including militarily. And so Turkey, I think, wants to secure, revamp, and I would say resecure its influence in the Black Sea in particular, and its role as one of these so-called middle powers growing between the great powers of Russia, some might say China and the United States.
Final question.
Yep.
It's 11 p.m. at night. Donald Trump does not sleep very much. He calls you. What's your number one piece of advice on what he should do in this region?
In Central Asia?
Yes.
The number one thing I'd say is to give U.S. government entities the authority, and I mean the Development Finance Corporation primarily here, the ability to provide essentially fully deregulated financing for projects in Central Asia. Again, a lot of this comes down to, when we talk about the middle corridor development or rare earth development, project economics. And the US government can be a really key player in unlocking financing for companies that make these projects actually bankable and profitable. And those serve not only American business interests and, by extension, the Trump administration's foreign policy interests. They've really placed a significant interest on business and economic diplomacy, but also our security interests in stability in the region and a check, I would say, on Russian and Chinese influence as well.
So if I had to put it in a nutshell, you are very bullish on the future of Central Asia.
Absolutely. Very bullish, especially if the U.S. comes to play.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.